The following interview is a Blanchard community production. This is Leadership Unfiltered, Community Conversations, an interview series dedicated to diving into leadership topics relevant to today's world. I'm your host, Sarah Hempel, a community builder, relationship guru, and passionate difference maker. Our aim is to hold a safe space for difficult conversations as we shed light on leadership around the world. So, join us as we dive into Leadership Unfiltered. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6.5 of Leadership Unfiltered Community Conversations. I'm Sarah, my pronouns are she, her, and this month we're going to talk about thriving through uncertainty, mental well-being in a shifting world. And yes, you heard that right, episode 6.5, when Ashish and I met, I realized how timely this topic was for the month of May and mental health awareness. And so I thought, let's just drop another episode in between, even though we usually only drop an episode every other month. This is really an important conversation. So today our aim is to leave you inspired, having a lens to see what's coming and having some clarity with some actionable steps that you can walk away from this conversation with. So today I'm super excited to be joined by Ashish Goyal from Auckland, New Zealand. Hey, Ashish.
Hi, Sarah. Hello, everyone.
Ashish is an accredited executive coach and transformation advisor with 25 plus years of global experience across banking, technology, government, and product companies. So a wide variety there. He's led multi-million-dollar delivery portfolios, coached leaders worldwide, and offers a distinctive blend of strategic clarity, values-led thinking, and neuroscience-informed insights. His passion lies in helping individuals discover their unique path while leading with confidence, clarity, and purpose. His coaching is grounded in influence, humanity, and intentional action, spanning career, family, social, and personal realms. I'm so excited to have you here today, Ashish. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So, Ashish, you have a very unique background working across different sectors, different countries. Can you just tell us a little bit about what events shaped your passion for leadership, professional coaching, and mental well-being?
So, how I describe that it has been a complete 180-degree shift from where I started. So, by education, I'm a mechanical engineer,
Okay.
and I chose that because I was so happy with machines as they were more predictable at that point in time. Uh, and also that there was something about like we could feel it. I could feel it, and there was I could understand the operation, how all these cogs and machine pieces work together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started. But call it a journey and different things that how I landed from a complete tactile world to a complete virtual world where code is functioning, where technology is shaping, and then from there on the people side of it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all about that journey that how I got exposed to various change management practices, new ways of working, especially agile. And suddenly my focus completely shifted from how the machines were working to, or how the code is working to how people are working. What
Mm-hmm.
is driving them? What is motivating them? What is making certain behaviors stick while others don't stick?
Mm-hmm.
What is their pursuit? So uh, that became the lens, and also from there came the part that what could be done on our part as people leader or as change evangelists that would ensure that people embrace are able to embrace it, people see it in positive light, and it's more conducive and it helps to their life. So that's how that there was a 180-degree shift completely. Also, so the tool that created that kind of high impact were the focus, and that's when I realized that group trainings and coaching are completely transformative there. How they allow people to, and especially adults, how they learn is very different from how kids learn. And this is where
Yeah.
reflective, active inquiry, experiencing is important. So
Mm-hmm.
how all these tools are essential and how they contribute to change getting assimilated more easily. So that became the focus, leading to the part where what people are looking for there.
Mm-hmm.
The answer I got is they are largely looking for different kinds of freedom. But most important piece that bothered me was that while all this thing is happening, mental being well-being is completely ignored or largely ignored
Right.
in every possible in every facet, and especially in the cultures that I came across. So that's where it became my focus that something should be done about it. So yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
is how I landed it.
Yeah. I love that journey, and people are certainly far less predictable than machines and and coding. Um, but what really resonated with me that you just said was taking change. Change is hard, but putting a positive light on it. And I love that you look at things through that lens of how you can be inspirational, how you can help people do better, take better care of themselves, especially their mental well-being, because that's tough. I think we often hear a lot of times that people say, I think well-meaning, but they'll say, oh yeah, just make sure you take a break, take care of yourself, get up from your computer and go take a walk. And then like the reality of the day hits and you're like, yeah, I don't know about you, but my list is about 75 things long. I don't have time to take a break. Right. um,
Exactly.
so I'm excited to dive into some actionable tips, but before we get there, I want to kind of hone in on the audience and the conversations that you've been having. You have a lot of conversations with folks across the APAC region through your work, um, particularly Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing from people right now when it comes to work, life, and well-being.
Sure. Let me share what I gathered over a period of time. And before I jump to that, I would also like some of the other details into the picture as it would help us assimilate these
Yeah.
insights in context. So, while my focus is people, largely their behavior is getting shaped because of the ecosystem they are in, and this is where
Mm-hmm.
it's this professional marketplace where which is shaping their behaviors, how they interact with it, how their life gets shaped. So here I went through quite a number of market trends in the professional space, especially encompassing the white collar jobs or knowledge worker we call. So that's where largely it is applicable. And I want to be articulate here that it's not specific to tech only. It's an
Mm-hmm.
entire segment that is highly connected because there has been earlier there used to be a separation that there are tech companies and they are non-tech, but nowadays pretty much all companies rely extensively on tech-driven
Right.
products, and so all that is that separation or demarcation is thinning. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the shift. Now, going back to what trends have emerged, and these started broadly coming roughly 1.5 years ago, but most prominently in last 9 months, what I'm observing that quite a number of workforce reduction activities have happened. Again, not specific to tech, it's across the sectors, and it's also almost similar in the private as well as government sector. So that's happening, and largely it's driven by uncertain environment in the office, especially that funding or the investments are uncertain. Our workplaces have money, but they are feeling uncertain whether they should spend, whether this is the time to do that, whether market is conducive enough for new product or new changes, whether they would have ROI in time. So that kind of uncertainty is there. So, and at the same time, nowadays we so commonly see the transformative initiatives. They are all over. And at the end,
Everywhere.
one of the KPI is always that how we can reduce the cost, and people operations are all, I mean, people are one of the costly thing with the salaries as well as the other benefits.
Right.
So it is always on a radar, and that's driving the shift. Now, here I also want to articulate that there are three generations playing at work floor simultaneously. We have millennials, we have Gen Z, and then we have Gen Alpha. And they all are perceiving change or this shock differently, but it is for all of them. For example, millennials have become very senior in the position. They are very expensive too, and they have largely relied on a set of skills. Whereas Gen Z has stepped up. They are very similar to in terms of offering to millennial, because differentiation of another 5 to 6 years does not play much role, and especially when organization pyramids are thinning, where extensive like 2 decades versus 15 years is not much different. So there, the demarcation is thinning. And then there is a Gen Alpha, which is trying to enter into the workforce, and they have completed graduate education, and they are finding their foothold. So all that is happening. They are all knocking the door, or they are interacting with the workplace in a different way. Here, especially the first two segments, see their the way they have interacted is very unique. So far, for some reason, and again, I was also one of them for quite some time, that our workplace and titles have shaped our identity.
Yeah.
So what we have so used to, that I am VP or director of or so and so company, that has become our identity.
Yeah, while you take a drink of water, like that's something I connected with a gal that Wendy Turwalp, who leads some just different networking initiatives that I follow on LinkedIn. And she, when I attended a course of hers, she really talked about why do we have to lead with that? But we all do. We walk into the room. Hi, I'm Sarah Hempel, Senior Manager of Community Experience. That's not who I am. That's just the title, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is where the problem lies, that we have shifted so much weightage on our corporate title becoming our identity. In reality, identity is completely separate. It's all about how we think, how we interact with society,
Mm-hmm.
what value we generate for our people. So it's pretty broad. But reality is that due to this kind of acquired traits or nurturing in our workplaces, that has become our identity. And this is creating a big problem, that when people see this job market squeezing or shifts happening in the market, they feel it's an existential crisis.
Yeah.
They lose sense of their well-being completely. So that's one of the most prominent part of it.
Mm.
And then comes another aspect, that now, well, this is reality, that after COVID, there is a right sizing happening, workforce adjustment is happening, uh, economic slowdown, and all these factors are there. But most importantly, all the people who used to be the high performers, who followed all learning plans in time, who were, steadily working on their growth
Right.
trajectory, now suddenly they are finding that they have been called into the room, or suddenly something is happening around them, which is creating that uneasy sensation, that's what's going to happen to my workplace or to my
Right.
role, whether it's going to be there or not. So even when they are on the role, that sense is there, and that's a creating big cognitive dissonance, that why me? It shouldn't have
Mhm.
happened to me. I was always the highest performer. So there is a big disconnect happening. So these two factors, and combined with that broad chatter, that something, that magical technology and AI will do, how it's going to shape our life, that's creating another threat like environment. Now if you see all these things cumulatively, the big problem is that we do not have interpretation for what's happening, and
Mhm.
that's the root cause of uh, this kind of uneasiness or lack of mental well-being, because we do not have a software to handle that.
Right.
uh, we do not have an interpretation or a model. I mean, we all
Right.
humans, as we grow up, we form our mental models. That's the
Mhm.
way of interpreting a picture, deciding it's a fight or flight or threat or friendly atmosphere. But for this kind of thing, this has come up so in a surprising fashion that we do not
Yeah.
have a mental model and we don't know what to do about it. So that is the root cause of it.
Hmm.
So this is how I see all these factors are coming into place, and this is what is giving rise to completely shaken up people. Again, they could be on the broad spectrum, but in my view, this is what is going on.
Yeah. People are feeling uneasy because they don't know. We haven't been in this exact space or place before. And when you don't know, you just
Yeah,
don't know. So then fear comes out. That internalized stress comes out as fear. It comes out in a lot of different ways, making it hard to continue to function and work both personally, professionally, right? All of that.
yeah,
Um,
like what you described. Yeah.
so when we think about that right now, things are feeling uncertain. I don't want this to be a conversation about doom and gloom. And so as we talked about in the intro, we want to inspire people. So what advice do you give individuals who are struggling with this sense of unease?
Yeah, sure. And without that, this is gonna be a too shallow conversation. So in this case, what comes to my mind is that one of the story that my mother told me long ago, but it stayed with me uh, that there were a mama bird and a baby bird sitting on a tree, and this is where a baby bird is scared that what if the branch breaks, and then mama bird says that it's not, I'm comfortable not because I feel branch will not break, but I am comfortable because we know how to fly. And this is what I want to extrapolate to our life, that once we have that sense that yes, the ecosystem is behaving in a way which is fine, but we exist for a purpose, we exist to contribute in certain way. And
Yep.
once we realize that, it's very, very empowering. So
Yes.
that is one biggest shift, that moving. So having that lens of empowerment is the key, that is gonna go all across. And now let me share that how the steps could come in place. So what the for us, the uneasiness comes from the point that we do not know, or we are angry about it, we are
Mhm.
sometimes denying it, or we have some resistance about it. But once we accept that it is a reality, it has
Yeah.
been happening in the past, it has happened, it is not new, it's just that the pace has increased.
Yeah.
And certainly it is not the last change also, it's gonna keep
Right.
coming in different form. So
Yeah.
once we, first part is that acceptance that it is real, uh, and it's not the last one. So let's embrace it. So it's all about, okay, bring it on, and then
Yeah.
see what will be my lens. So that's the very first step that I see is essential. That embracing the change rather than resisting or getting angry about it. And then comes the part, step two, in my view, that making a very conscious choice of dissociating your identity from a work related identity from your overall identity, because that's what, as I said earlier, is the root cause of why we are uneasy, because we
Yeah.
feel because of certain developments in our ecosystem, we
Right.
lose our identity itself, which
Yeah.
has allowed us to support or frame all the conversation that has been our perspective all throughout. So once we do that, then comes the part that uh, it is just a shift. There are so many. I mean, we always buy new clothes. We always give up the old ones. So it's
Yeah.
just shading those clothes, that there is today I am XYZ at one place, and tomorrow I'll be ABC at another place, which is does not matter. But I exist for a skill, and this is where I want to tie back that we know how to fly. That's why we
Yeah.
exist. So
Yeah.
it's that sense that is gonna create that comfort. And then it's the last step, which I feel that things may be unknown right now, but based on our skills, we would be able to respond to it and reshape whatever is gonna come. So
Yeah.
that's how I see these things that would allow us to prepare us better. And this also, I'm a big believer in the neuroscience. So this is where I always find that when we reframe our positioning or the perspective,
Hmm.
it would mean that suddenly all that threat perception or the cortisol in our blood is gonna be replaced by a different thing, and that
Hmm.
different behaviors and other things is what, of course, we will talk. But this is where when we form that connection, societal and then purpose-driven identity, that's when we will have more oxytocin replacing cortisol. That's what
Hmm.
forms our mental well-being. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is the way to go.
I love that. I'm thinking about specifically step two that you said, like separating yourself from that title, that role. And I actually did this a few years ago on LinkedIn. You know, there's that little header line below your name. And when I first created my LinkedIn, I remember I put, you know, like elementary teacher, and I put like what my role was, K through 3. And then as I started to learn more about, yeah, that separation, I shifted it into, you know, a growth and innovation leader, community ecosystem builder, DEIB advocate, passionate about creating access and impact, and more focused on the skills that bring me passion and drive me, as opposed to that title. And that is such a great way to think about it, even if you're not in the midst of uneasy times, right? I mean, I thought that's a great tip for anyone. So you've talked a lot about mental well-being. You talked about kind of that shift of your mindset with those 3 steps. Mental well-being often starts with your perspective, right? So how you make it sound so easy. How do you encourage people to adopt a mindset of growth and resilience when external conditions feel so unstable? And that typically does incite fear and anxiety, maybe depression. Like how do you encourage people?
Yeah, sure. And yeah, this is the crux of it, that how do we position and how do we approach that? So here, is again, until we look at how our individual response is gonna be about it, how we shift, how we handle this threat, and how we find that solace and comfort is important. So this is where I want to bring that some of the data points from again same market studies, that what kind of shifts are happening,
Yeah.
and how that could be factored in our actions. So here, it's the job market is squeezing, but it's the same employer which has been releasing resources in some area. There has been a hiring happening in different area.
Hmm.
So that's a very important piece, that it's not that there is no demand. There is a demand for a different skill. For
Hmm.
whatever reason, you may have been a certain skill set, and this is where moving to a different skill set could be valuable. So demand is
Hmm.
still there. So that is worth remembering. And then comes the part that this data also shows that we are moving away from the notion of permanent employment, like ongoing concern that once I join XYZ company, I'm going to be here forever. That
Right.
model is shifting. Why? Because of the uncertainty, of course. So here, employers are moving towards a very slightly different model. It has been happening. It's just that now it's gonna, or it's becoming more prominent, which is contract-based model or fixed tenure model. So
Okay.
that's how hiring managers and employers are shifting towards. So that's one part. And then in addition, all these roles are hiring even higher salaries. So it's not that the value of skills have gone down in the marketplace in general, but these are also higher paying roles. So what this means now is about adopting a mindset in which you focus more like a consultant, where you
Mm.
know that I'm not here forever. I have
Yeah.
come here for a purpose. I will solve a problem for my customers. I will have minimum time to get started, and then as soon as I'm done, I will move on to the next client. And that brings a complete shift that uh, how you see your role in that ecosystem rather than forever being in there in and shifting corners and all. No, it's no
Right.
more, but it's more towards a solopreneurship that you come, you
Yeah.
play your part and move on.
So you're no
So
longer a cog in this big machine. You are coming in with a very distinct purpose. And like, how to, I just imagine when you come in with a distinct purpose, how does that make somebody feel? That makes you feel really good because they've hired you to fulfill that purpose. So that is a great way to shift your mindset. I like that.
exactly. And important piece here is that now people will have to think more actively, more intentionally that what their contribution has been.
Yes.
Just because they were hired for something for 4 years ago, but is it still making sense?
Yeah.
They may have contributed in X skill, but is it still relevant? Or now you are more valuable in Y skills. So it's all about shifting continuously. That yes, that there is a new skill valuable. I will shift to that. I will make my purpose serve, but at the same time, I'm also open that if this demand is not here, I am open for another client or another assignment. But at the
Yeah.
same time, if there is another pocket that has opened, I'm willing to jump into that with my transferable skills.
Yeah.
And
And always willing to
especially,
learn.
yeah, exactly. And here we'll also have to bring that notion that our job constitutes of around 5 to 6 kinds of skill or categories.
Hmm.
And even so, while programming may be your one key aspect, but there is an organizational skill, there is a process skill, there is a self leadership component, quite number of skills which will go with you in the different role, even if the existing programming role you want to give up and you want to move to a marketing role. So all that is highly doable and people are already doing it. Just that now we will have to see ourselves uh, as a more mobile person and willing to experiment with more other things and be open about it. So
Yeah.
that shift by itself will be so empowering that people can switch to different areas, different sectors also
Mhm.
because of the transferable skills and tech penetration everywhere. So that brings that level
Mhm.
playing field that one person from logistic can go to for a real estate product very easily. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I'm seeing that how this fundamental shift would could happen and how we could reposition ourselves.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's now comes the core part of your question that how we can do all these things. Of course, bringing a consulting mindset is one of them, but practicing some of these softer values is also important, which is about continuous adaptation, growth
Hmm.
mindset, continuous acclimatization, and then resilience. So that's what is going to be the backbone of that or our thinking throughout. That will ensure that we stay grounded.
I love that. Okay, so now I want to know practical strategies. I want you to think about, I want you to pick two small but powerful things people can do today, right now, to take care of their mental well being while they're also preparing to be agile, preparing for this evolving job market.
Sure. See, it's all about being open and for these 4 areas like I highlighted, it could be small steps. Like for example, if we want to build resilience, maybe at the end of the day just asking ourselves what challenged me today, or did I
Yeah.
learn something new, did I
Yeah.
see a different situation, what does it mean to me, just asking very
That
basic
self
things.
reflection.
Exactly, or some kind of journaling, but it's
Yeah.
all about being focused that yes, resilience is important, growth mindset is important. So it's just having a focus at the end of the day. Or another thing could be practicing gratitude, that making it intentional to thank and see uh, what nice thing happened with you today, or who contributed
Mhm.
to a smile in your life today, or who made a difference.
Yeah.
So very simple step. I'm sure we must be seeing it all around. It's just that in the speed of life, all these things have taken a back seat. So,
Yeah.
but what I'm suggesting is that it's about identifying your focus, what you want to work on, and then
Mhm.
picking up few things like these activities that I told just now. And there can be huge list of things, but
Yeah.
it's all about choosing what you want to start with and just working on those.
Yeah, being intentional. I would even say, I mean, what's helped me is putting in my calendar just 30 minutes, for just a check-in once a week. And I know it's not every day. I love your advice for every day. That's not always possible. So I started small and like I met myself where I'm at and started with just a once a week check-in to reflect on, like, we call it rosebud and thorn. And you may have heard of that. What's something good? What's something challenging? And what's something that's blocking you that you kind of have to strategically think about how am I going to tackle that next week or next month? And that's been really helpful. So I
Yeah,
love that.
well said. And it's especially aspect here to notice is that some things are already part of our thinking. We do
Yeah.
it unknowingly, but identifying what things we are not doing, which could help us,
Yes.
or what are our blind spots. So working on those more intentionally is gonna be
Yeah.
uh, will create a difference for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how the individual can help with their mental well-being and things that they can do in these times. Let's shift our focus here for this last question to leaders and managers, because we know that they're feeling the pressure too, right? What what role do they play in supporting their team's mental well-being? I mean, I think everything we've talked about so far can also support a leader and a manager's well-being, but as they are managing other people, what role do you think they play in supporting their team's mental well-being during these times?
Great point. And especially they have double challenge because first
Right.
they have to keep uh, themselves going
Yeah.
because the s- they as an individual, they as a human are facing the similar challenges and threat
Yeah.
that all individual contributors are facing. But so not only this person, all these people leaders have to manage their own challenge, but also their team members' challenge.
Right.
So, okay, so then how to answer that? Of course, what matters at an individual level, it is highly recommended that they also practice. But when it comes to the team and where they want to make a difference in life of people who are reporting to them, important aspect would be to create a culture which heavily focuses on psychological safety. Because
Yeah.
if that ecosystem, that DNA exists in the system, their task would be heavily reduced. It will be more machine-like setup within the teams or the functions they are heading, where people are able to speak freely, people are able to bring alternative thinking, a different perspective. They are also able to voice those uneasy situations that they are facing. So all these things will come naturally. Another important piece I feel will be very, very useful is having a coaching mindset. So shifting from mentoring to coaching, where in earlier behaviors they have been telling they have been expert in whatever area they are heading, but now it's shifting that and realizing that what other people are good at. It's about helping them identify new skills, new area of interest, which people themselves will identify, and it's possible that they may choose a different journey away from my area or if they are reporting to me. So
Right.
that openness, that those kind of conversations, and a coaching mindset, which I describe it as a whole, would be, I think, highly differentiating. And especially, for example, while as an individual, I may be thinking in order to build resilience that what challenged me today, then somebody, my manager, if he asked me on a weekly catch up that what has challenged you in today or in this week, could open a different perspective. So
Mhm.
all these things can be seen from a different perspective of a people manager who assumes responsibility to have well-being embedded in their way of working.
Yeah.
it would be worth adopting, please.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I mean, we hear it all the time, but it is so important that workplaces have that psychological safety, that managers create a space where their employees can show up, they feel seen, heard, valued. I mean, they're going to contribute more, and you're going to get more out of them. Not that we want to just get more out of our workers, right? But like when they genuinely get to come to the table and share their thoughts, their feelings, their questions, they are far more engaged in the work that they do. And that just benefits everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nicely described.
Oh, Ashish, this has been wonderful. So let's wrap up. If you could leave our listeners with one piece of encouragement for thriving mentally and professionally in these changing times, what would it be?
Great. So the one word that comes to my mind is freedom. And let me link it back to what I said until now, that workplace changes or societal changes have been part of it. We have, our generations have seen it. We have,
Yeah.
so it's not stopping, and it's not the last one.
Right.
But importantly,
The only constant is change, right?
exactly. So that's there. And but equally important is to see that interest in how we evolved and how the biological side of it, how each and every cell and every tissue has that adaptability inbuilt. We have faced so many threats, so many extinction like calamities, but we have always survived because it's embedded in our DNA. Whether we like it or not, it exists with us. So we all have that power, that capability to
Mhm.
handle these things. It's just that we have to adopt that right mindset and behaviors to manage that. What this would lead to is a bigger degree of freedom, because now it's opening up, and especially these current situations are opening up doorway to different sectors, different geographies, and different kind of works, uh, which we never thought we could do in original construct, where we have
Mhm.
like 30 to 40 years in just the same line of thinking or same skill set. So
Mhm.
that degree of freedom is getting added, and that also recognizes the fact that we are, when we uh, do certain things, like generally here the career is 3 to 4 years, because we evolve, we
Mhm.
develop cravings for doing more number of things. So this kind of construct supports. Only thing is just we have to look inward, that what is interesting to us, what matches our expertise, and what is saleable in the market or in the workplace, and being adaptive and resilient to go after that. So yeah, freedom is the thing that we will gain through our journey. So
I
that's
love it.
what we should aim for. That is gonna be our takeaway.
I love it. Our takeaway is freedom. I love that. Well, as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to say thank you so much, Ashish. It was truly a pleasure to have you on today. Thank you for just sharing your story and engaging in this great conversation with me.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me here, and that would especially providing a platform to amplify my message. As once I'm seeing all these trends, I can't ignore that. I have to reach out to people.
Yeah.
So you have been very supportive that way. In addition, what insights you brought are very, very useful and inspirations for everyone.
Thank you. Well, thank you to everyone for joining in and sharing this time with us. And until next time, join us in the Blanchard community to unpack more conversations around leadership. Bye.